So thanks for being open to our provocative wording for this session. But when I use provocative wording, it's because I'm trying to achieve clarity for myself. And when I use the word sabotaging, when I really looked at some of the things that I said or did at the end of meetings, they weren't serving the student. And that's the whole point. We work so hard, we care so much that when we do the opposite, it's good to notice. So this language, it's useful for me, and the way I framed it is that we've got these 55 minutes. Let's say I have a 1 hour appointment, 60 minutes with a student. The first 55 minutes have a lot of energy, enthusiasm, evidence based practices for autonomy and self determination. And then what I would do after that moment is I would give them homework. And a few different things happened during the I'm giving homework authority phase. Sometimes I had a student with a blank face, meaning I have no idea what's going on inside. Are they still enthusiastic? Are they actually going to do that stuff? Sometimes it was worse. I could feel the student's energy lowering, like changing, like, oh, we went from exciting ideas to like now we have to implement things that are intimidating. And the energy was off. And it really made me doubt myself. It made me doubt whether or not the student would do the homework. It made me doubt, you know what? Here's the worst case. It made me doubt how important were the first 55 minutes if I can't nail the last 5 minutes, like the follow through. Isn't it important where that happens? To get myself unstuck, I tried to move from an old question to a new question. So before I used to think, well, what's the best homework? Like, what's the best action or the best assignment? Now I'm trying to ask a different question. What action would feel meaningful and doable for the student? And that's the whole crux of the webinar today. We're going to talk together about the problem. I'm actually going to get you to articulate it in your words, like what's happening with the students when it comes time to choose next steps. We'll talk about some ways to have a better ending. How do we empower the student? And then I'll talk about a specific tool that we developed called the Career Action Cards. And we'll be doing a giveaway. We'll also give you a discount code at the end as a thank you for participating in this webinar that we're doing today. And then we'll tackle Q&A. And as usual, please use the chats throughout the session. Ali's going to launch a poll where we'll have a pretty meaningful discussion. So let's get started by introducing ourselves in the chat. Okay. In the chat, I'm going to ask you, can you please tell us where you're based? Number one, and maybe why you decided to come. That's a big question. That's not even an icebreaker. That's so big. Okay. Why did you decide to come? What made you interested in this? Is this something that happens to you? Is it here because you're here to listen to me talk about the mistakes that I make and you like seeing me, feel embarrassed? That's okay too. I like talking about mistakes a lot. You can also, like Jenny, tell us what you're eating, which to be fair, we asked. Lucy, you're in Oshawa. That's great. Corey, nice to see you. How's Seattle? You like new strategies. You're focused on neurodivergent students. Corey, maybe at the end, you'll tell us how this applies to them. I would love your perspective. Hey, Miguel, nice to see you. Here to learn. Use challenge cards. Yeah, I would say that's a popular reason to be here. Is like the challenge cards work. Why wouldn't the career action cards work? And today we'll talk to you about why they work together. Look at that. We've got a huge percentage of people who've already introduced themselves. So keep it coming in. Why you're here. I really think why you're here makes a big difference. Shima, you've got lack of student follow through as well. And welcome. One of the most valuable tools you've got. That's great. Okay, great. Keep introducing yourselves. This is wonderful. And then please use the chat if you've got questions, comments, reactions. I actually love being interrupted because I care about what you think about these things. So please use the chat for that throughout as well. And then Ali or Jess might let me know what questions are coming through in the chat. If you're new to SparkPath, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to solve this problem. Career conversations used to be about matching people to job titles. Ouch. Some students still think that's what we do. It's more than that. Our vision is that we create a world where people design their careers, and they do that with clarity, courage, and agency. And today, with the action cards, clarity, courage, and agency is very relevant to our conversation. And we've been doing it mostly through a tool called the challenge cards that have been used with over 100,000 students in high schools, middle schools, universities, even with mid career professionals. And we published a book called The World Needs You, which you can check out if you want to learn more about our company. One thing that's also relevant for this call is that we build things in community. We really see the practitioners, that means you on this call, as co-creators, because we get feedback about what doesn't work in the field. We get feedback about what our students need, what advisors need. And that's the fuel that we use to create new tools and approaches, whether it's like an actual physical tool like today's career action cards, or even a YouTube video about a topic that you find your students don't understand. Together, we can build something much stronger than whoever would try to create one alone. And today we'll talk about a real concrete product that you can have in your hands and you can check it out. Please don't order it yet. At the very end, we're going to give you a code that gives you a discount, a 20% discount for the career action cards. And this is a product, it's a tool that we created. But one thing I want you to know is that every time we do a webinar like this, it's about more than the tool, it's about the approach. So, what would you walk away with if you chose to stay for this webinar? Well, first of all, you're going to understand why strong career conversations sometimes fail to lead to action. That one we're going to work on together. Then we'll talk about the value of student choice. How can we increase this so we create more ownership, confidence, and follow through? And then I'll present a simple activity you can use in a meeting that you have tomorrow, a workshop that you have in the fall with students. I like to use the word students. Some of you are career coaches that specialize in working with mid-career professionals. All of this stuff applies to you too. There's a couple modifications I would recommend with the career action cards, but when we say students, we mean people in general. Okay, just to double down on this, I guess one more thing I'll add is beyond our tool, you might do this with your own tool. You might create your own tool. Just like the challenge cards we made are not the definitive dictionary on all the challenges in the world. You could use the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. When it comes to career actions, you could use or create your own tool based on what we're creating today. Okay, let's find out what you think about this issue. Ali just put up a poll where we're asking you about what makes the last 5 meetings of the last 5 minutes of the meeting so hard. And I know it's not every time or every student, but you've had those moments where maybe like me, you felt like, ooh, this isn't working. The energy died. I don't know if they're going to come back or do their homework. Would you be willing to tell us a little bit more about what that looks like for you? There's a lot of different people on this call. Some of you work one on one, some of you work in groups, some of you work with youth, some of you work with professionals. We want to hear people's perspectives. So I think there's an opportunity for you to answer some open-ended questions. And there's also some opportunities for you to fill out some multiple choice questions. Uh, before I guess, start the timer, go ahead and answer those who see it. Is there anybody that doesn't see the poll that's not sure how to do this? If so, raise your hand, please, or let us know in the chat. I mean, we're only 60 seconds in and 20% of people have already answered. So thank you for those who jumped in right away. Okay, we're 90 seconds. Why don't we do this? We'll give you another 30 seconds to wrap up. 50% of people have already participated.
We're up to 75%.
That's great. All right, last chance to submit. Thank you for those who have. And then, Ali, when you're ready, we'll do end poll and get a sense of what people answered.
Okay. Here we go. I'm sharing results.
Can you, I see all the results on my end because I'm the host, Ali. Can you tell me what folks are seeing or what you're seeing?
Yeah, we can see the percentages for questions 2 and 3, and
Yep.
then we can get the long answers up on the screen in a moment.
Does this look nice, Ali, the way I have it on my screen?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Great. So look at this little word cloud. That's pretty useful. These are words you'd expect to see, right? Thanks for the candid share here. I tend to overload with homework. It's overwhelming. I can't help it either. I'm so enthusiastic. I'm biased. I'm like you've had this feeling before. I'm more excited about their future than they are. And there's a problem with that, right? Because I may over prescribe homework, right? So that's a great comment here. Okay, here's the blank look that we talked about. They have a blank look or perhaps feel overwhelmed by the data presented. So, how do I save the meeting? That's exactly what we'll talk about today. That's so great. Adam talking about seeing their motivation. That's so great. And then, what about the next question? How do you currently help students? Well, there's a majority of, I think there's a fair distribution here with the different techniques that are possible. And not many of you, let's say, students decide on their own. That makes sense. And what's most important to the folks on this call, we want them to build ownership of their career journey, which is a big shift, right? Some of them show up to this meeting thinking, you're the one who's going to decide. Their parents will decide. The adults, even the professors should decide what they are able to do. But you want to build ownership for them. That's great. Thank you for that. Okay. One of the reasons that I'm thrilled that you talked about building ownership is not just because of their immediate need as students. We know the value of it, but can we take just 1 minute to break down why ownership is so important? Let's frame the old world and the new world for them. Okay. In the old world, institutions were clear. There were linear pathways to the world of work, and institutions were well connected. Some could argue they weren't that well connected. Well, what's happening now and what's going to happen in the future? Institutions are losing power and credibility. This is arguable, but what's not arguable is that the world feels smaller, blurrier, messier for students. I wish I could tell you that somehow we were going to design talent management systems, like a talent management pipeline that would take the student through through school to work in a clearer, cleaner way. But I think we have to consider the alternative that this will become more complex. What happens to students when the world around them gets more disjointed and blurrier? They have more responsibility. They need more ownership, exactly the thing you recommended they needed. So the shift is what? There's more responsibility transferring from the institutions and our systems to the individual. At the same time, one could argue that students nowadays are even less prepared than they were in the past to take on this responsibility. A lot of the narrative around students today is that you're still a child until 25, which is like, based on popular brain research narratives, which is you're not an adult until you're 25. We didn't believe that 20 years ago. 20 years ago, maybe an adult, you were 18. So the reason I tell you that is because these two trends are working in opposite directions. You are in our society standards today, you are a child for longer. Yet the adult world needs you to be an adult sooner than that. Okay. Do you see the dynamic here? I don't know if you've seen it explained this way. And feel free to tell me in the chat if you see it the same way that I explain, or if you see it completely differently. I'm open. The reason I'm sharing this framework for them is just to double down on the value of ownership that you just dictated. And this is a big picture way of looking at it, but it's going to come down to concretely what you do and what you say in a student meeting. This shift doesn't happen theoretically by getting them to read a book or seeing like a video explaining how the world's changing. It happens when you put a deck of cards in their hands and you make them feel ownership. And in our case, there's a hypothesis here with the action cards. What if? What if choosing their own actions would create this ownership? And what's the point of creating ownership? Well, maybe it could make them twice as likely to follow through. Twice as likely to follow through. Yes, I pulled that number out of thin air. But can we be ambitious together for a moment? Like, this is what we actually desire for students. I mean, personally, I desire 100% follow through with every student or professional that I meet. Is that realistic? Not at all. Okay. What's my current number? Like, I don't know. This is a difficult thing to measure, but what if only 20% of the people I meet do the homework that that they designed? Okay. What if only 50% of it do it? I would like to double that likelihood. And that's a big, big shift. It's a really ambitious um, uh, take on this, but can we like let's try together to make this happen because we want to take students that feel like, Maya on the left, okay? She might feel like this is impossible. And I tried to generate this look on her face where that's the blank look or that's discouraged look and she's assigned the thing. And how does she react? She kind of nods. Man, maybe she never does it. And to take her to a state where she feels more excited, there's a smile. She feels like she can do this. The self efficacy is there. And she discovers what's possible when she takes action. This is the shift we're talking about. For Jordan, it might be all about overwhelm. Like, where do I actually start? Look at the list here on the left. That's a lot of stuff. How do I break this down into smaller steps? Which one's most important? Which one's going to bring me most return on investment? That's tough. No wonder they're overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed just reading that. What if it's about letting them choose and finding out what's most meaningful to them? This is the shift we're talking about creating. To design these cards, they're quite simple, but I looked at the research in autonomy, self efficacy, design thinking, implementations, intentions, and I'm going to show you where I source this in our facilitator guide with one warning. Okay, this is my only warning of the whole webinar today. But after I designed the webinar, I put it all in ChatGPT and I said, hey, how am I screwing this up? Like, what mistakes am I going to make? That's one of my favorite prompts, by the way. And they said, and they know me, okay? They said, JP, nobody cares about the evidence-based principles. And it's an exaggeration, okay? I told you at the beginning, I like provocative thinking, provocative talking. So it speaks provocatively to me, okay? And I'm not saying that none of you care. Some of you have PhDs. You're specifically trained to read the evidence and read the science of stuff. So you will literally love this. However, this is not what's most important here. Okay. So I'm going to cap myself, to be honest, here at why don't we say 60 seconds of the science of the action cards. But more importantly, I'm going to give you the link for you to look at the facilitator guide. And Ali, can I leave that up to you to share the link to the facilitator guide?
Yep, putting it in the
Because
chat.
people ask us all the time, right? What's the evidence behind this? I mean, when it comes to autonomy, DC and Ryan, these are the folks that I studied when I was studying psychology in my first year psychology classes. Autonomy and motivation are things that I want built into everything that we do. So that's the first body of work that I think is important. Some of you have studied Bandura and self-efficacy, getting a student to feel like they can do this. That matters, and it's linked with evidence-based outcomes. I really love the work of Hermania Ibarra about transformative experiences and how we undervalue these as part of the career development continuum. Why am I saying that? Well, sometimes the career action that your students choose, it becomes a transformative experience. L.A. Paul, in her work, she describes this through the imagining of a vampire. Like, can you imagine being a vampire? And she explains that you can't really imagine being a vampire until you're a vampire. And that's a weird example, but I think you already know why I'm bringing it up because we're asking our students to imagine, and creating these small experiences is a huge part of that. A lot of you have leaned on design thinking to make all of your work more adaptive, more prototype style. And I think building small prototypes is a wonderful way for students to think about their career action cards. I'm almost done my 2 minutes. You still with me? You still, the science stuff is still okay? Okay, good. Thank you, Scott. Implementations and tensions. I'm going to spend 30 seconds on this later. This is an easy way to make your goals more specific, make student goals more specific. And we're going to trick them into setting great implementations and tensions. And last one, experiential learning. This one has some good meat to it, the Kolb learning cycle. Nicola, you might be the one who first put this on my radar. You might be using this with your co-op students, right? You send them out, you want them to have concrete experiences. They reflect, they conceptualize, they do active experimentation. This is what we're doing. Please do not show this to your students. This is way too complicated. But you know that this is the process they're going through. It's a cycle of learning. Learning, you do stuff, you reflect, you come back, you choose something else. That's the science. Ali, did I make it under 2 minutes?
Absolutely not. That's okay though.
Oh man, close.
Uh,
Let's get more concrete. Okay. What does it actually look like? I got to tell you, the career action cards that we designed, there are no surprises here. This is the stuff you know. This is different than the challenge cards that we made. The challenge cards, we were supposed to show you stuff you know and stuff you don't know. This isn't like that. You already know the career actions that students can take. You already know the homework that exists, right? It's identify your strengths or maybe try a work project. It's go on volunteer skills, build skills now, or literally apply for that job that you came in for. Maybe it's visit a workplace. Maybe they need to choose a new major in research education programs. What's new is that we designed it in a way that's very light with our usual fashion of having an engaging image there. These images, by the way, are what Ali worked on for months, to get it. How do I get students to recognize this intuitively? Some of your students will do this exercise without reading the words. That's what the images are for. Another feature of the image that might not be obvious is that what Ali wants is for the students to intuitively pick, to tap into their intuition instead of their analytical minds, which, by the way, a lot of them before they came to see you, they were stuck in analytical mode. When you put the cards in their hand and you let them touch them, sort them, and see images, you're tapping into intuition, which is a powerful thing, right? When it comes to selecting what you think is useful for you. All right, do a mock interview, create a resume. I won't show you all the cards, but I just wanted you to know you know this stuff, you know the homework. Here's a very important action card blank. Create your own action. Okay. We don't pretend like we listed every potential action, right? There's hundreds of things you could do. By having this card, you literally might have students choose their own action, create their own action, talk about something that we missed, which is powerful. But even the suggestion of it, even if they don't take advantage of it, signals something important. It's up to them. You have the power to create your own action. I'm not necessarily the expert. The deck is not the expert. You are the expert of you. So I've talked to you about the visual. I've talked to you about, you've already seen the very, very simple wording at the front. On the back, there's information. A warning about the back is the back is not the point. Okay. We want students to spend most of their time here. If they're confused, if they don't know what the action means, if they're further along in the process and they've got their top three and you want them to pick their top card, at the back, we've got a few more things. Why the action matters. This is essentially a WIFM. What's in it for me? Then we've got 3 simple steps to get them started and the reflection question. That way, they've got something to work with. This is not a detailed, 67-step list of exactly how to do something, but you get the gist of it. They're like, oh, what does this really involve? Right? So they get a sense of it. That's how we structure the cards. So eventually, once I decided to be honest about how I was sabotaging the last 5 minutes, I decided to work with this and start using with students. And I started asking coaching questions. These are my coaching questions. Feel free to write them down. I think you'll come up with your own. But just to tell you what it sounds like, here's what I might say in a coaching meeting in the last 5 minutes now that I'm using this. Hey, instead of me choosing your next step, why do you think, what do you think would be most useful? And then I give them the deck. Or why is it better for you to choose your next steps instead of me? That's it. I like very simple introductions, even for the challenge cards. So this is a simple introduction to the action cards. Let me tell you now how it works. And maybe I'll give you a more practical example that you can visualize. We have the same technique that we used before with sorting the cards into 3 piles. Why 3 piles? Well, this just gets them going, right? Like I want to imagine the students immersing themselves in the cards, right? So the prompt I like to use is, can you sort the cards into 3 piles based on what's most useful for you? So you'll ask the question, is this action useful for me? And you'll say yes, maybe, or no, maybe, or yes. Or sometimes I like to say very useful, maybe useful, or not useful. That's the language I play around with. So they sort the cards, and while they sort the cards, I like to be as quiet as possible because I might learn something about the student that I didn't know before. They might share a fear that they never articulated in the first 55 minutes. They might show their enthusiasm. They might show their embarrassment, like, oh, I'm embarrassed, like I don't want to do that yet. Sometimes what they say is so good, I stop them and I coach them around that one thing. That's rare. Usually, what I do is I write it down and I address things that I want to tackle later on. But for the first, here's my favorite part, by the way, when they're sorting. For the first time, I get new data. What are they being pulled towards? I never had that data before. When I assigned the homework, they had a bias. They had to respond in a favorable way because I gave it to them, right? If they were disgusted by something, I don't know if they can tell me. Like that takes a lot of honesty to be able to say that. So this is the first time I'm seeing real data about what they're pulled towards. All right, what happens after the three piles? Out of their most useful pile, they pick their top three. And then again, you watch them sort, you pay attention. And then you get them to talk about their top three. Okay. If I want to go further, I'll say, you know what? Pick your one most powerful action out of those top three. The reason that's useful is that even picking three actions might be too much for students. So I like to pick one card. At that point, you could ask them, hey, you could look at the back if you want to help you choose your top card. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Completely up to you. My favorite part is when they start talking about their code. What made you choose that? Oh, you chose conduct an informational interview, or you chose research education programs. We haven't talked about that yet. Can you tell me more? What I am I going too fast, by the way, or is this useful? It's not too detailed. Okay, good. Because this is my approach to coaching, right? You're going to have to adopt it and use your very own way. Thanks for the thumbs up. I needed that little boost. Okay. So the reason I spend more time here is that one of the ways that I coach, I see my job as I sell people on themselves. I'll say it one more time. My job is to sell people on themselves. That's my coaching style. Yours might be different. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of the people that come to see me, they feel like the world doesn't need them. And I want to fight about it, a gentle fight. Okay. I want them to see, hey, you know what? The world needs you. There's a lot of problems to solve. You've got something unique to offer. Let's find a connection there. Let's find a place for you to contribute. So I like to get them talking to be able to do that. So why am I bringing that up here? Because when they choose their actions, I might spend time selling them on themselves, selling them on their choice. Well, here's why you made a great choice. Here's why I think that's important. Here's the value that. Why would I do that? Even if they've already chosen what they want to work on? Well, it's because it makes a difference. Like just showing the value, showing they're right is just generating that energy and enthusiasm for them to see like what's the true value in them doing that. So I think that spending 30 to 60 seconds doing that makes a ton of sense. Okay, we're still in the process of letting them talk about actions. One thing I want to add for you all here is that you don't need to believe them. Here's what I mean by that. They may have chosen actions you disagree with. They may have forgotten an action that you think is extremely important for them. Here's what I'll say, at least now you know, right? And the way you approach that, it won't sound like the way I just said it, right? The choices you made are wrong or you forgot one. But at least because you see what they've chosen, you might know how to approach one. Hey, I want to tell you about another action that might help. Or there's one big difference maker that you could add that would even add the ones that you created here. So the reason I bring this up is that even though this whole webinar is about ownership and agency, you still get to push back. You get to say no. You get to question if the time is right, because it's giving students ownership doesn't mean letting them decide and we have no comment and we're just like complete bystanders and coaches that are neutral. That's not our true role. Like I know some professional certification, coaching certification programs that really advise the client knows best. The client knows best is different than the client knows everything. I don't believe that in our roles, every single person who's on this call, all 100 of us, if we're pure coaches that are net neutral and never give advice, we're not reaching our full potential. We know unique things about careers, about the world, about the process that they don't know. So our model is a hybrid, isn't it? We coach We listen, we train, we advise, we teach. Like it's a mix of those things. So there's a moment here. All that we've done with this like really empowering approach is we've shifted where the teaching might happen. Did you see that, right? Like, do you remember my first 50, like the first way I did it? Like I was teaching right away before allowing them to choose. And that's what took away from this approach. Okay, that's all I want to say about the process, the way I would do the action cards for now. So I just want to add one more coaching technique that I really like that I recommend that you use. And then I'm going to pause. I want to see what questions, comments, reactions you have. And the way I'll frame that is by asking you, how might this technique or these techniques help your students? So bear with me for another moment. I just want to add implementation intentions because there's a strong body of research in social psychology that shows the value of creating implementation intentions. So if a student chooses an action card that says, conduct or meet with a career mentor, you could get them to fill in this phrase like a Mad Lib. The action I chose is meet with a career mentor. I'm going to do this on Thursday at 9 a.m. And I'm going to know I've made progress when I've found a list of 3 potential mentors, written the email, and sent it to them. That's it. Just this time block, you might have heard about the time management techniques of time blocks. It's related here to implementation intentions, but this makes a huge difference in goal attainment. There's been tons of like cool little studies that show that, and I'd recommend that as a coaching technique for you to play around with. That might get students to do this. Some of you might be already doing this kind of stuff already, and if you are, feel free to tell me so. Okay, here's my next question for you. How would this help your students? Again, think about the diversity of the people on the call. You help a whole different set of students, different ages, different needs. Can you please answer this in the chat? How might choosing their own next step help your students? In fact, I'm going to write it. Actually, you know what? No, I should do both. Ali, can you write that in the chat, please? Because I want to
Yep.
keep this up on the. Some people would rather have this on the screen. Lori, build their confidence. We haven't said that word yet, but yes, that's absolutely in line with what we're talking about. Nicola, oh, when you said for coaching, knowing what hat to wear when, very well said. Choices how to proceed. Thanks, Aaron, for sharing that. Best practice for teaching. Yeah, it's really interesting, Aaron, for teaching because I'm preparing the first. We've done 2 cohorts of the challenge mindset certification. Imagine like a month-long process where a group of career advisors in higher ed get certified to deliver the challenge mindset. We're doing our first one for K-12 next month. It's for one school district. And I'm very curious about how these techniques are already known about at the K-12 level. I think a lot of them are. But when you say this is a best practice for teaching, because it's active learning and engagement, that's truly my hope for, my whole month of August is that people will feel the same way. Eve, you said it might make it easier for them to remember it if they chose it. I didn't think of that, but yeah, I agree. Deanne, they'll actually do it. Yeah, that's right. Feel more empowered, take on responsibility. Not every student is ready to do the same thing. I never thought about giving them options before. Okay. Yeah, here, Aaron, if I may add on your point, I can't tell. Like, I can't tell by looking at them, right? Like, I can only guess, and I hate doing that type of guessing. With this, I don't have to guess anymore. Like, they can just pick stuff or show me what they're willing to do or not, express their frustration. Jenna said, feel seen and heard. That's right. They might feel different. You're right. More memorable. Articulating to envisioning. Oh, I like that. The power of words, autonomy, agency, ownership, autonomy, belief. Feel confident about making a choice, decision making, self authorship. Oh, I love self authorship. Critical thinking. Yeah, because they have to decide like what's most valuable right now, right? They can't do the whole thing. Oh, Jenny, autonomy, competence, and related. Yes. And Dan Pink renamed these, right, in his popular books. But that's the quote from DC and Ryan. Thank you. From passive to active shapers. Andrew, that's well said. I almost feel like that's part of your job description, Andrew. Like that's what you're good at doing with students, isn't it? Avoid the subconscious resistance of being told what to do. That's good. Leave clients in the driver's seat, creates accountability. Now knocks out expert. Oh, I love this. Self-efficacy. Oh, this is good, Karen. I feel like your comment is applicable to me as a person. Like st students are quick to forget their progress. This gives me concrete accomplishments to recall. Like I need to remind myself of like, hey, I've made small progress there. Even though I'm not at my big goal yet, I've taken a useful step. Trust in themselves. Isn't that important? Tailored to their needs, specific individuals. Thanks for that, Shima. And yes, we will share the recording to this. Capacity schedule, we all do. That's great. Oh, yeah, we do. We all do. Okay, great. Okay, how does this fit into the bigger picture? Well, we've created a suite of tools that I think you can already tell. We've given this to advisors. We've put this out to the challenge mindset community, and we've asked you, like, how do you want to use this? Okay. So it's the same philosophy with the career action cards. I got to tell you, Ali and I were at the NCDA conference. And when we asked this question, people gave us like really cool ideas. Somebody said, hey, you said I should use the action cards at the end of meetings. I'm going to use it at the beginning of meetings. And my first reaction is like, what are you talking about? Like, how does that work? But really, I'm curious. Like, I think you're going to do very interesting things with this. So sharing this slide, I'm going to give you some ideas about how to make this come to life. I want to tell you, this doesn't change our philosophy that you're going to use these things very creatively. So I'm going to share one way you could do it, and then I'm going to share here's how you can break the mold because you know I love breaking the mold. We've designed a tool last year called the Career Myth Cards. The goal is to help students examine their limiting beliefs. This is a great way to start a workshop or a one-on-one session. Then, once the students are open, they've examined their potentially limiting beliefs. Maybe they've created more empowering beliefs. We show them the challenge cards, and they choose an inspiring challenge to solve. And they can even flip the model to start discovering real paths. Like if you want to redesign the healthcare system, there are real companies in your city doing that now. Let's learn more about them. And then the cards come at the very end. Okay, let me start. We've got cool ideas, cool paths. Like, where do I go next? That's the three-part system. So, to show you how this works in practice, you've got a student that might explore this career myth card. Agree or disagree. If I make the wrong choice, there's no way of going back. You know why I made this card, right? Like some of them are paralyzed. Like they show up paralyzed to me. And I want to poke at it a little bit. I want to let them choose, but I want them to explore what about this alternative? Even if you make a wrong choice, you can change to a path that's better for you. And that's the point of the career myth cards is that it even gives you a stat. Well, you know what? Actually, 50% of people have pivoted at least once. Oh, I didn't know that. My parents never pivoted. So this is what I'm talking about when I say um, break or explore limiting beliefs. After that, you can explore the challenge cards and say, okay, there's like you just learned, there's many possibilities for me. Maybe I can change things. All right, I want to improve mental health. Okay, well, what does that mean to you? Well, maybe mental health is about reducing the stigma around depression, anxiety. Very cool. That's important. The world needs that. And what we've done with the digital challenge cards this year is we've allowed you to flip the model directly on our platform. We used to tell people, go research that. You want to reduce stigma, go find companies, go find jobs, go find education programs. And you can connect that all the way back to what you're learning day to day in high school, for example. And what Ali and our team have done is we've literally created a process where you can do this as part of the digital challenge cards. And these are screenshots here where that ask you, how are you going to reduce stigma? Are you going to do it like using art to build empathy? Are you going to strengthen youth support? Are you going to make mental health more visible? And you can literally type your city and it will find you real organizations, a mix of organizations, nonprofits working on this, for profits, large, small, startups, big companies, right? And now the student sees it come to life. Like it goes from a theoretical discussion to like a really concrete thing. Wow, this is happening in my city. And then here's the simple next step. What jobs exist at those companies? Again, the goal is we want to make this come to life. We want to let the students choose. And then they might even look at, well, what do I need to learn to be able to do that? There's different things you could do here art therapy, counseling, psychology. We call this flipping the model. And it gives you a challenge profile that has all of these elements, right? To make improved mental health come to life for you. By the way, this is where the action cards come in. Now that you know all these different possible paths, like what do you need to do? Is it meet with a career mentor? Is it research the education programs? Finally, we can really tailor the next steps to the student that's in front of us. And it's not us recommending it. It's not an AI powered recommendation. It's really the student choosing what they want to work on first. We see this being used in one on ones at the end of your appointment or the beginning. You could use this in a group at the very end in a group workshop. You could use this in a classroom. And then you could use this for an event, like at your career fair for a follow up. You want to make sure that everyone does this. And to us, this is a big leap because I don't want to leave the last 5 minutes of my meeting to chance. I want it to be very concrete. And I think just empowering them to do that is like such a simple way to do it. I want to thank Emma for this testimonial. We've been giving out these career action cards as part of our design process for a few months now. We've gotten some great initial feedback from folks. They've told us, here's how it helps. And Emma talks specifically about the people experiencing overwhelm, which I think is a lot of our students. I mean, the results are coming in with advisors saying, like, I didn't expect it to do this. I didn't expect it to do that. So it's allowing them to discover a lot of stuff that I didn't even think about when we were designing the cards. Okay. Aaron says, I literally can't wait. I'm going to redesign my class to use these in this coming semester, and I'm going to use them one-on-one. So awesome. Thanks, Aaron, for your enthusiasm. That's why we did this whole thing. That means so much, you writing that. What if the student is overwhelmed by the huge pile of choices of action? Oh, that's the whole point, Miguel. You nailed it. I think it's intimidating. That's why I hate lists, by the way. Remember at the beginning, I said you can design your own exercise? You can. My only recommendation is don't make it a list. The list, uh, it doubles down on the overwhelm. As soon as the student starts sorting into three piles, the overwhelm starts to reduce, Miguel. Okay. This is what we've seen by observing so many people sort the challenge cards into three piles. That being said, let's be candid. During the sorting process, they might have feelings come up. Okay. The overwhelm might be present. I like to make it safe and encouraging for them. When the overwhelm comes up, you might use your coaching skills. Like one thing I'd like, I'll give you a concrete example. Sometimes when people sort the action cards, they share guilt. Okay. They literally, let me stop sharing for a second here. Look at this action card. Look at this challenge card. It says end extreme poverty. Some people put this in their not interested pile. Are you kidding? You don't want to end extreme poverty? Not everyone can work on all the challenges at the same time. Okay. So I'll address their guilt. I'll address their overwhelm in a playful way. And I think the same thing happens with the action cards. They're like, oh, I think I should do this, but I don't want to. It's okay. You can't do all the career actions at the same time. And if you tried to, you wouldn't be very good. So you could say something comforting like that. That's how I would address the overwhelm throughout. By the time that process of sorting to three piles is over, you move on to top three, move on to top card, and you've got a process, a system for them to work through the overwhelm. That's my recommendation on how to deal with it. I love your question. My question or my hope for the group is this: what difference would it make if your students were twice as likely to follow through? I know it's ambitious, but what might happen? Well, there's tons of benefits. The students, they come back, they tell you stories, they've tried stuff, they've got new questions to ask, they've got like the next action they want to take on, they've got momentum. What if like we could measure the impact of career services not just by job placement, but by student action? That would be a good lag, league and lag measures, right? That would be a good measure, like on the way to getting a job. And isn't that more meaningful, like the actions that they're taking? More broadly than that, what if we had a culture in our school and our campuses where we valued action, experimentation? Failure is okay. You don't need to know for sure that this is the job you want to do, but we want you to try something small, a ridiculously small step, RSS, ridiculously small step. What if that's our new culture, our standard? We don't have to move with perfection, right? That's a big difference. Okay. As we're wrapping up, I'm almost done with the content I want to share, but I want to go back into your world. Okay. So, can you do this exercise with me, please? Think about the next student you're going to meet. It could be tomorrow or it could be in the fall. Imagine a person. Based on today's session, what's something you want to try? Something new or different that you'd like to try with them? Can you take a few moments to answer that? And if you share it in the chat, when other people read your answer, it might get them to think about a different action they might want to take. That's the benefit for them. The benefit for us as we're organizing this is we're seeing like what part of this is useful for you. And finally, the benefit for you is I know you invested 45 minutes of your time and you want it to lead to a concrete action for you too, right? So instead of doing this after the webinar, if you did it now, you might find out what's the return on investment you got to be by being here today. So let me share it one more time. Based on today's session, what's something new or different you would like to try with that student that you're going to see? Hey, Stephen, you're going to be more intentional to ask them what they plan to do and make it time bound. I think that's such a great 30 to 90-second activity that will make a difference for a lot of students. That's the power of implementation intentions. Fran, you said something extremely important that I forgot to say so far. Okay. So, you know what? It's so important. I'm going to wait till everyone finishes and I'm going to come back to your point. Patty, I'm going to move away from the checklist of actions to students choosing their own. I love that. Dylan, low aiming goals. That sounds easier to do. Oh, Marianne, that's a great idea. See, we never thought of that. I'm going to let them know at the beginning of the appointment that at the end, I'm going to invite them to choose an action card. You're priming them for this. How comforting to me as a student, that would be comforting. I know that all this, because for students, we're going to bring them to a place they didn't expect to go, right? Wow, this is some fluffy talking and thinking about feelings and identity. But you promise them at the beginning that by the end, they're going to have an action to take. I love that idea. Thank you. Aaron, I'm going to orientation after this. We asked, what do you want to study with us? Instead, I'm going to ask, tell me about you. What interests you? Interesting. That's very good. I mean, a lot of people do this technique that you just described with the action cards, excuse me, with the challenge cards, Aaron. Instead of asking a student, hey, tell me about you, which might feel intimidating, they just say, tell me the challenge you want to solve and tell me more about that challenge. And it's a kind of a backdoor way of saying, tell me more about you. Because when they talk about the challenge, they end up talking about themselves, strengths, values, skills. Dan, are you going to be more explicit? I like to leave it up to the student, give them a few choices, actions, choose an activity, build tasks that are open enough. That's great. What will make the most difference for them? Now you're showing them to make a decision based on value. That's so great. Karen, you use this the majors fair. Oh, this gets them the playing the game makes them more likely to to book an appointment with you. That's great. Demystify what career services does. Wow, that's good. Take it slow. Wow, that's good. I can't read all these. These are amazing. I'm gonna have to read them afterwards, but I love what you're doing. Miguel, I just realized you're doing to us what you want us to do with students. How you found my tricks and games. Well, listen, yes, of course. When I think about ownership, it's not just for students, it's for us as a field. And I feel really strongly about this, right? Like, I feel like sometimes we're brought into this field and everything feels like it's set. Okay. I'm going to exaggerate this. If I'm going to get on the soapbox for just a moment, Miguel, if you don't mind. Like, it kind of feels like you finish a master's degree or a certification, and it's like, we know how to do career development. Like we know how it works. We know what the science says about what to do. I feel completely different. I feel like we are a young field with emerging ideas, emerging researchers, and the practitioners uh, don't need to write academic articles to contribute to that. I see the folks on this call as scientists of human potential. So we have a lot to contribute to this field that's constantly changing because the world of work is changing. So yeah, I think we should use our techniques of being empowered ourselves for the work that we do because it's going to lead to way better student outcomes. Okay, one more comment uh, before we move on to the draw. Al, if you could pick somebody, by the way, from this group to give away a free deck as a thank you to be here. Fran, what you said is so important because I want to share an observation I made in watching dozens and dozens of advisors use this tool during our design process. Here's what happened. A lot of people pick too many tasks. I can't blame you. You got the same problems I have, okay? You know the value of these cards. You might feel dumbfounded that they didn't pick this one. Oh, this is a great one. Oh, I can't believe you didn't pick one. But the three piles, right? The very useful pile like ended up being like 50 or 75% of the deck, right? So that is not a problem in of itself. Okay. The reason I'm telling you this data is because I want you to be aware. I'm trying to build this awareness in myself, right? I've already told you right at the beginning of this webinar, I was doing too much, right? And we might fall into the same trap. So what does that mean for you? It might mean the really painful uh, tactic or technique of going from 4 recommended next actions to 1. Ouch, that hurts. Or 4 to 3. I don't know. Like, I don't have a prescription for you here. I just want to tell you what I noticed. And it was easy to notice because it was so flagrant. Like, that pile was so big. And also, I'm very guilty of it. So, Fran, you made me think of that. Thank you. That really helps. All right. I want to say thank you for your time, energy, and attention. Ali, can you please announce our winner?
Yeah, I feel like I need a drum roll or something. Can I get a Zoom little drum roll from
I
y'all?
can't hear you. I lost the audio.
Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me?
Okay, I got
Okay,
you now.
everyone
Sorry.
else is here. Everyone, okay. The winner of our giveaway for a free deck of action cards is Rebecca Liberty. Rebecca, if you're
Congrats,
here, hit us with a
Rebecca.
thumbs
Thank
up.
you.
We're pumped for you. We're gonna hit you up via email afterwards to get your shipping address and we'll get those cards to you. Congrats, Rebecca.
Great.
There she is. All right.
Thanks, Rebecca. And by the way, you're getting a lot of love. People are encouraging you, but there's two people on this call that don't feel that way. Okay. They're jealous, they're mad, they're upset that you won. Okay. But that's okay to have feelings. Okay. You shouldn't say don't have those feelings, but you can do something about them. You can get the cards today. That's how you deal with your jealousy. So here's the QR code to get the action cards. Ali, can you put this link in the chat? This might be helpful. We've got a discount code that works this week. Okay, I'm going to show you how it works. It's not complicated to add. I'm going to do a demo right now. So please use the QR code to do this either on your phone or to do this directly on your laptop. I think that'll work. You know what, Ali, can I spend 30 seconds just to do like just to show people how to use the discount code?
Yeah, go for it.
Do we have time? Okay, great. So I'm on our website, mysparkpath.com. Some of you are going to need a classroom set of 30 decks. Some of you will need one card. This pricing is Canadian, $49 Canadian, because we're based in Canada here, but there's a US price if you're based in the US. So you'll simply click on the card, you pick add to cart, and I know you haven't put in the discount so far, but you just do it at the checkout. Okay. When you press continue to checkout, the discount codes here on the right. And I think I did this in preparing before the webinar, and you'll see here it's already listed here. So that in Canada, that gives me a $10 discount. I think it's a little bit less in the US, but it's 20% off. So it happens at the very, very end. And that's how you do that. Okay. I think we've got 2 more minutes for Q&A. For those of you who have to go, thank you for being here. I appreciate your time, energy, attention, and enthusiasm. For those of you who want to say we have a few more minutes, but my ask of everyone who's here is tell us how it goes. Please be scientists of human potential. Tell me, does this make your students twice as likely to complete homework? Did it flop completely? Did we miss an action card? Did you add an action card? Did you use it at the beginning, not at the end? We love your ideas about how to use this. That's how we design the challenge cards. We've added a lot of challenge cards over the years based on your feedback. You told us there's an action card, there's a challenge card missing. So we plan on doing the same thing if you're up for it. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful summer. If you've got questions, please put them in the chat now. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I really appreciate you being here.